right. Hello, everybody. Hello, Luca. Hello, Everson. Hello, Zarmegas. Welcome back to Rose Guns Days. Last time I was all like, I wonder how they're gonna start a new arc, when everyone's character arcs are resolved. Well, the answer to that was pretty fucking obvious. They just bring in a fuckload of new characters. All these crazy high school kids. Including our very own amnesiac French girl, who is not actually French, but I decided that she was anyway. I am looking forward to see what they're gonna add to the plot. Alright, let's get back into it. Not much to say, except, I'm eager to see where this leads. She just cleaned up their whole place. And Rose has been doing a bang-up job. Cleaning up everything. Hello, T. Welcome to the stream. Please tell me if the music is too loud or too soft. Or I am, as well. For an afternoon snack, we decided to go to Chinatown to try the Nikuman pork buns Charles had recommended. The vast rush of traffic and noise was no different from Chinatowns in any city. Apparently, even though I had no memory, I remembered this. Compared to the prosperity of the Chinatowns, American cities were nowhere near as lively. Hello, Guppy Force. Welcome to the stream. I guess the fact that Asian people can't visually blend into a city of Westerners was a big factor in this. The wall of language is big too. Both the Japanese and Chinese use Chinese characters in their words, so it's just barely possible to come to a mutual understanding. However, you'd have no luck with English unless you learn the language, and vice versa. I think one language I keep hearing about, although it's not a very common one, that is Finnish. That it's extremely close to English. That you can almost quite understand what someone is saying in Finnish, if you know English, and that is super fascinating. It reminds me of all the times that my mother, whose first language was Spanish, like she always said, like, if someone spoke French, you could kind of sort of understand what they meant. And I always thought that was something so cool. So yeah, that's an experience I've never quite had, like partially understanding what someone else was trying to get at or say based on that the language was very close in linguistic evolution to your own. Anyway, back to the story. Because of that, the American cities felt a bit more desolate than the Chinatowns. They did make some effort to attract Japanese customers, but apparently nowhere near as much as those Chinese shopkeepers. Hello, XT, and welcome to the stream. You don't think it's Finnish? I know it was a language somewhere around there. I think okay. Then I'm probably misremembering. I know it was a language somewhere in the Nordic area. I'm pretty sure it was from one of the countries in that area. In any event, the fact that the Japanese customers might be Japanese or Chinese, as long as they kept their mouths shut, was important. Even in this crowd, it's unlikely that everyone here is Chinese. In fact, half of the customers might be Japanese. But the Japanese and Chinese still held ill feelings remaining from the war. However, as long as they kept to themselves, nothing bad would happen, and that sort of tolerance was certainly present here. The writing on the fronts of buildings was mostly Chinese, but you could see a lot of Japanese as well. Those robust Chinese shopkeepers didn't seem to show any prejudice against Japanese customers, as long as they had money. City 23's Chinatown also seems to be bustling with activity.
That's because City 23 itself is in the middle of a boom.
Chinese shopkeepers are good at business, so they're making a killing. That's hilarious that she mentions that, because my significant other, who was born in China, tells me all about, like, in Shanghai, if you go there, this is not from my own experience, but what I've been told. The shopkeepers expect you to haggle. And if you buy something, and they always try to go after tourists, because no tourist would ever know that. And if you buy at like the standard asking price, they consider it like a steal. Like, you're literally expected to haggle with the shopkeepers for almost anything. And I found that absolutely hilarious. At least, that's what I've been told, based on their experiences in China. All the cheap, delicious stuff is in Chinatown. Yeah, just smelling it makes my stomach rumble. And that's just you being a picky eater. Just try something, you'll get used to it. What about you, Zal? Are you okay with this, son? Yes, I am fine. I am getting hungry too. You got that right. That aroma of oils and ingredients used in Chinese food, which you could only find in Chinatown, gave the place an exotic atmosphere. That scent made me feel at home somehow. Before I lost my memory, I must have been familiar with Chinatown culture. I wonder if she's Chinese. Surely I used to live in a city controlled by the Chinese military. Still, this spot is totally Chinatown, isn't it?
The street over there used to be our border with Chinatown. Now it's sticking out an entire block further.
Looks like Chinatown is prospering as well.
That's part of it. But it's also true that this area was deserted. Because of the Caleb family, people left their stores and turned this city into a bunch of empty buildings. Then the people here started buying them up one after another, and so Chinatown expanded.
You see a lot more Chinese people around the city these days, too. Have you been able to get along well with them?
They don't think of us as anything more than maggots who lost the war. The feeling's mutual. We are selfish, those damn immigrants we got out of Japan.
My God, jeez. Fates are always breaking out. Rude as it might have been, the two of them smiled boldly. Felt like little more than students at a pair of nearby middle schools in different districts. I think it's probably a good thing that we can't understand each other. If we understood each other too well, we've been able to hear everything we're saying behind each other's backs. Ah, boy.
Ignorance can sometimes act as a breakwater.
That is true. And that might be true. If in the future some sort of automatic translating device were invented. Ryukishi was thinking about Sakonia. He had to have been while writing this, wasn't he? And we were able to understand the other side's gossip. The result would probably be a mess.
Well, I'm an idiot. Some Chinese guys talking bad about me I wouldn't even understand.
That might be pretty important. The truth was, I'd had a strange feeling for a while now. The Chinese were somehow soaking into my ears. What could it be? Why is Chinese so familiar to my ears. I focused on the man yelling in Chinese at the counter.
Are you kidding me, bastard? Lower that price of yours a bit, will you?
If you don't like it, go home. I got plenty of customers besides you.
Sorry. What's wrong, Zal? I think I understand Chinese. Huh? That's awesome! Seriously, it's a really hard language. What with all the tones. Oh my god.
Are you serious? Think you speak it? Can you get them lower the price of these Nikumon?
You can really speak it. Try saying something.
Speaking Chinese. Shema, I have no idea what the hell she's saying. Oh, thank you, Guppy Force, for the translation. Today's weather sure is great. My stomach's growling. Incredible! I can really speak Chinese. Is what she said. Thank you, Guppy Force. Whoa! What was that? What was that? Oh my god, we got a translator over here! Cool!
I'm surprised. What did you just say?
I said, what a nice day. I'm hungry.
Okay. So what's written over there?
The next person who throws their trash here dies.
What are those Chinese people saying?
Oh god, I am not your personal translator. You said tobacco would make me a fortune. Give me my money back. Awesome!
Awesome!
Even I was surprised. It wasn't as though I had a dictionary in my head. The feelings and meanings of the words just popped into my mind in the most natural way. I probably didn't learn Chinese by studying. I must have picked up Chinese naturally through my daily life. The three of them were astounded by my ability to speak another language. Like it was some sort of superpower. But for me, it was as though the stone door to my lost memories was shaking, and I couldn't help but feel dizzy. A feeling of uneasiness that I couldn't describe was welling up inside my mind. Is it really okay for me to be here? Isn't there something I should be doing? Uh-oh. Did she have like a mission to kill Rose or some shit? Oh boy. It felt as though, in some place I didn't know about, sand was gradually ticking down an hourglass.
Zal, over here! The Nikomon here will knock your socks off.
Before I knew it, I'd been left behind in the crowd. The three of them were waving at me from a stand right in front of me. I'd spaced out and been left behind. The moment I tried to dash forward, I felt a clinging bad feeling and started looking all around me. A city I don't know, filled with people I don't know. Of course, no one would meet my gaze.
Come on, Zell, hurry up. I'm starving here.
Oh, what is it, Zell? You spaced out and stopped walking.
Doesn't it look like it's just some funny Chinese joke you overheard? Sorry, Nasi. It was just my imagination. I forced a smile and went with everyone to the Nikuman stand. Oh, I was wondering what you were saying, apparition. If I said I'd felt someone's eyes on me, they'd probably just look at me blankly. Even though we're in a bustling crowd of countless unrelated people passing by, whose names we don't know and whose faces we can't even see well. Ooh, who are you? You look like some kind of ninja. From the darkness of an alleyway, a short girl appeared like a shadow. Her eyes were fixed on Zell as she stuffed her face with Nikumon with her friends. Alright, may as well, we'll save over that later today, but yeah. Keep going. Alright. Before noon on a certain Sunday. Oh, I was invited to brunch with Madame Rose. By then, I was vaguely aware of what she represented, so I was incredibly tense. When I honestly told her how I felt, she giggled. Even I was tense about this role of mine at first. More than once, I was nearly crushed by the role that goes along with the name Madame Rose. But then I realized I fit into the ultra badass mafia boss you see today. Oh wow, Claudia, I haven't done you in a while.
However, names and rules have the power to make people be reborn.
This young shopkeeper, who was supposedly Rose's friend, spoke as she carried in some food. There were several samples of Japanese creative cuisine, something you hardly ever saw these days. For some reason, there seemed to be a lot of potatoes in it. I see. So the store's name, Kuroimu, black potato, isn't just for show.
As they say, names and natures do often agree. And the same thing goes in reverse.
I think that when people are given names, they're reborn to match that name. I understand. That makes total sense to me. Even I might be a different person to the one I was before I lost my memory. After being given the name Rapunzel, I was reborn as a new human. Maybe a name is the soul and personality.
Well, it isn't as though anyone could do the job of Madame. Rose was always a girl who felt a strong sense of responsibility.
Yes, a lot of people have praised Madame Rose's great achievements. They say you saved the city from the evil mafia and gave the people their way of life back. I can't believe I missed that story arc.
Yeah, Rose is the city's savior.
thank you. But my goals are still a long way away from being reached. Now that we've lost our country, we Japanese are gonna have to make it through a tough era. It's sad, but 100 years or so from now, I think Japan might have all the Japan taken out of it.
We're in Japan right now, and yet it's harder to find soy sauce and miso and ketchup and mustard.
In this age, Japanese-style food is relatively expensive. In my eyes, the store looked like a cheap restaurant of the good old days, but by now it was practically high-class eating. How would she know what the good old days are? She's pretty fucking young. To put it another way, in the current Japan, Japanese cooking is like foreign dining. I'm not in politics or the military, so I can't take Japan back for us. However, I want to open a path to a society where fellow countrymen help each other. I want to show people that path. Since the Japanese became a minority, they were now the lower class of the country. As the proverbs, only when basic needs are met can people spare decorum, and poverty brings simplicity. Just being poor weakens the heart. I hate to say it, but these days there's a widespread wretchedness in the Japanese people. Enough to make them willing to trample down anyone, countryman or otherwise, to get what they need to survive. There's no getting around it. To try and put it as kindly as possible, it was an era where you got to starve until you died. Ouch. And because those are the times we live in, I want to revive the will to help each other. If only when basic needs are met can people spare decorum. And the very first step is to build a society where everyone has enough of those things. Well, that is a very noble goal. And that's why you revise the wages for laborers. Hopefully no society will ever forget this. Caleb-san was the one who tried to do that. I'm only inheriting his goal. He may have been a terribly violent man, but his drive to save the society of his countrymen is the one thing he still deserves praise for, I think. I would agree with that too. I had heard Caleb's name from Oliver's group as well. He was the big bad guy who reigned as a tyrant and drove City 23 to the point of destruction. The way that Madame Rose spoke of this evildoer with an almost fond gaze was something that struck with me. After being blessed with many fortunes, I gained the power to make my ideals a reality. There is no doubt that it was just a coincidence, Just like the time I suddenly became Madam. However, everyone entrusted their futures to my ideals. That's why they gave me the title of Madam. It's so interesting how similar to Nunnally in Code Geass she both is and looks like. I mean, Euphemia. Kind of like a halfway between Nunnally and Euphemia. And she's very similar to both of them. It's very interesting because I think this was definitely made after Code Geass, because Code Geass was 2007, which is insane to think about that it's so old, because it feels like it was more than 5 years ago. That's why they gave me the title of Madam. The real me, Rose Haibara, truly is a cowardly, insignificant person. Well, that's definitely not true. Seriously, no one could ever call you a coward. You got in freaking gunfights and lived. You freaking stood up to people and said, like, these bold things that help people when no one else would. Like, I would never call you a coward. Hello, professional procrastinator. Welcome to the stream. However, when I'm Madame Rose, I must not be that way. I have a responsibility to draw out my ideals, show the path, and guide everyone along it. As she said this, her gaze felt like the gaze of a noble person, worthy of respect. Then, I directly asked about her and the others. She told me everything, without holding back. That she controlled a mafia called the Primavera family. That force was the final power for protecting her countrymen. And that she had decided not to avert her eyes from that fact. People avert their eyes and pretend not to see it, but the criminal underworld exists. If everyone abandons that role, then thugs looking out for only their own self-interest will feel it. I totally get that feeling, like there's always going to be an underworld, and so she may as well be the one in charge of it and making sure that it's as least bad as it could possibly be. She's basically like Kiryu in that respect. Except she actually wants to be the leader. And even though Kiryu should be the leader, he just wants to retire. But he gets pulled back into it anyway because nobody can fill his shoes. And that leads to misfortune for a great many people. Simply leaving the throne of the criminal underworld open might be considered irresponsible to the cause of peace. And so she refused to look away from that world and that role. With an immense sense of responsibility to protect the society of her countrymen, she chose to sit in that throne herself. I kept on questioning myself, saying that someone like me didn't have what it took to fill that role. However, during the considerable time that I wasted on questioning myself, a number of people met with misfortune. If I had accepted that I was Madame Rose right away, I would surely have been able to lower the number of pitiable sacrifices.
That's not true. It's because you had that time to question yourself. You became an excellent madam. You mustn't focus on the past. Nothing in the past was a complete waste. It's a collection of all those things that brought us to where we are today.
Thank you, Claudia. So veggies are better. And there's a lot more people in shops here now. What do you plan to do next? Simply put, the next step is food culture. Don't you think the Japanese spirit is really in soy sauce and miso?
I agree. You do say that a drop of soy sauce is a drop of Japanese person's soul after all.
Okay. No way. Yeah. Claudia is totally Jean. Totally. It's gotta be her. It's gotta be her. Like, seriously. Like, we can't even see the color of Jean's eyes because she was always wearing glasses. But I got my nose seems to be all like clogged up, which is weird because it's not like runny or anything. Hold on just 1 second. I personally love soy sauce. I've always put it, but never too much. on my fried rice. The distribution and production of Japan's food were destroyed in the Great Disaster. After that, large quantities of American and Chinese ingredients were imported, and Japanese food culture was on the brink of destruction. As Claudia-san said just now, it was a lot easier to get ketchup, mustard, and ingredients for Chinese food than soy sauce. Which is kind of weird, I think, because to ship that all the way from America must cost a fucking fortune. I mean, the Chinese food would be, I would understand, but literally everything was wiped out. I wonder if they're ever going to go into more detail about what the disaster exactly was. The soy sauce and miso that the Japanese used to love were now scarce luxury items. Oh my god, I gotta read Zarmigus' comment. A new kind of action hero, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Oh my god. That was amazing. Fucking amazing. Even the Japanese people all want to regain their eating lifestyles. I think food culture is the very first building block in the soul of a people. In other words, you want to see to it that a lot of soy sauce and miso get into circulation. That's right. There's a lot of that going around. Lots of people will buy it. If there's lots of demand, then of course supply and production will stabilize and increase. The Japanese people have been poor, so they kept buying cheap foreign ingredients, unable to afford expensive domestic goods.
That's what started the vicious cycle of only foreign ingredients circulating and Japanese food producers going out of business.
If we can change wages and rebuild the circulation of goods, you'll be able to protect your food culture. You'll even save the food producers supporting it. Exactly! Next, I'd like to mobilize the solidarity of our countrymen to center around the rebirth of our food culture.
If people don't drink miso soup every now and then, they'll forget they're Japanese.
I love miso soup. It'd be wonderful if the Japanese people could be glad to have been born Japanese. And that is the ideal you're striving for. That's right. Making that come true, or rather, clearing the path for that to happen, is my job. Well, there's still a lot of tough things going on. There's still a lot of trouble remaining from the wage issue, too. And we're also having difficulties with the soy sauce and miso issue.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, Rose. I can't wait until I can sell food made with real soy sauce.
By this point, Madame Rose no longer looked like just a sweet girl slightly older than myself. She was a person worthy of respect, who had announced great ideals and was willing to sweat and toil to make them a reality. It was just too impressive and divine a sight for someone like me, who couldn't even remember her own name. However, I felt a desire grow in me. A desire to do something to help with her ideals. No, to help our fellow Japanese countrymen. It's exactly because of the times we live in that we mustn't think only about ourselves. The spirit is to help one's countrymen must be treasured and nourished. Anyone is capable of thinking that. The ability to turn that into action and making it a reality was what made her so great. Is it time already? A man who had been mixed in with the customers and appeared to be a guard whispered into Rose's ear and pointed at his watch. I'm sorry. It looks like the next item on my schedule is drawing near.
Oh, is it? But who's gonna serve a brand new potato dessert?
Potato dessert? Oh god. Unless it's the purple sweet potato, I don't think it's gonna work out. Have y'all ever had purple sweet potato? It's amazing. It tastes like cake. It's crazy to think that it's even a potato. Please let Zop try some. Sorry. And please enjoy yourself. It must be tough. Is this a job related to making our ideals come true? More or less. By making wages large, too many people have gathered, and as a result, there are more and more people than there are jobs. Ryukishi is some kind of fucking prophet. Depending on their situation, it's gotten harder for some people to get jobs than before wages were lifted.
A lot of people have been pouring into City 23 from all around. They've grown a bit too much. We seem to be seeing more disreputable looking people around lately.
That's a problem too. Life can be tough. But we can't throw in the towel. One by one, we've got to tackle everything head on. Madame Rose placed a new $1,000 bill on the table and rose from her seat. Okay, so Japanese dollars are basically yen. If it's literally a $1,000 bill, that's like $10. Then, about half of the customers in this cramped restaurant also rose from their seats. You know, you'd think if they were going to convert the name of Japan's currency, you'd think they'd at least update it so it wasn't like 20 billion things like dollars or whatever it would be, like, you know, actually just a normal price. You'd think they'd convert it to at least something that sounds reasonable. Because, like, seriously, it would be like American money, like going by the penny. The way yen works. Then about half of the customers in this cramped restaurant also rose from their seats. I was shocked. They were all her guards. I was shocked. They were all her guards. This made several customers realize that she was Madame Rose. And they darted glances of awe and respect at her. Outside, a line of luxury cars was waiting for her. A large number of guards welcomed her with a deep bow. As she left, her back was overflowing with the dignity of one who guided the society of her countrymen. Madame Rose is a really incredible person, isn't she?
I'm a bit worried that she's working too hard. But that girl will bear the burden. The ideals help equate many of us. We can't become like her. However, we all want to contribute in some way. The little things we can do.
Yes. We've got to contribute somehow. Using the things we can do. She gave me a name. In other words, she practically gave me life. Partly to repay her kindness, I want to contribute something I can manage. I reached a decision on what I ought to do, and found a person to depend on, which made me feel a sense of power, as though my feet were planted firmly on the ground. I am Rapunzel. Yes, a girl with no memory who just started a new life in City 23. But surely, even for me, is there some way I can help the woman who accepted me as a fellow countryman, despite my past? Don't give up, me.
Forgive me.
Oh, sorry.
I wish at least your meal didn't have to be rushed.
It's fine. I'm already used to it.
Meiju-san has asked to speak with you about the recent matter.
Oh, I bet he might know who she is.
It's about time that we declare a clear position on this matter. Will we save our Japanese countrymen without discriminating between them? Or will we prioritize our countrymen in City 23?
Sorry. Discriminating between our countrymen is something I'd much rather avoid, but...
According to your ideals, all Japanese people are our countrymen. I understand that it wouldn't be proper to distinguish between them. However, we are an organization of City 23, and we exist thanks to the support of the residents of City 23. If we lost the support of our countrymen in this city, our foundation will grow unstable. Serving up a cup of porridge may save a single person from starvation. However, if we took that porridge and gave one grain of rice worth to 1,000 people, no one would be saved.
Our ultimate goal is to help all of our countrymen. However, we don't currently have the strength at the scale to do that.
Exactly. In order to make our ultimate ideals a reality, we must step forward in the proper manner. Meiju-san said it himself once.
Yeah, he did. I know. Saving the person in front of you means deciding to do and being aware of the fact that you're delaying helping the next person for a time. Oh, Luca, purple sweet potatoes are not purple on the outside. They look like regular potatoes on the outside, but they're purple on the inside. Those who fail to reach that decision cannot avoid being labeled as hypocrites. They'll have nothing but idle words.
You've grown more reliable. I'm sure Amanda's rejoicing.
I wonder where Amanda is. It's incredible that she made it through that arc alive. Even in the past, the area in front of the employment agency had flourished with laborers who spoke only Japanese, waiting for trucks bringing cheap day labor jobs. However, the place was now filled with a crowd that put all the old ones to shame. There weren't just laborers from City 23. Beyond just Japanese people from other cities who'd heard about high wages, large numbers of Chinese laborers have also come rushing in. Which meant that a larger number of people were fighting over the same number of jobs. Even in the past, there would be a rush forward when trucks came. However, things were no longer so easygoing. It was a war. Oh my god, new generic mooks!
Let me on! Let me on! Let me work. I'll do anything. Out of the way. Don't block the road. Don't care what the job is. Let me on. Let me on. Damn these bastards blocking the road. Give us work. How long do you think we've been waiting here? Shh. Fine. This spot's good enough, so start gathering people. We'll get the carrying cargo at the harbor. Need 10 strong men. 400 for today. What the hell's that? They're blocking the road, getting jobs there. Enough messing around. Don't ignore the employment agency code. To hell with your code. I came here from Michikawa, hearing they better pay round here. I'm from Hachioji. We betting our lives on this. Come on, out of the way, out of the way. We're full. Open the road. Damn outsiders. It's your fault we can't get jobs. Hell is that to me, bastard? I got a hungry child.
Saying something in Chinese. Ni. I know ni means you in Chinese. In the Shansha and Wuxia, they say like ni, like when pointing at somebody when they're like being audacious or something like. Oh, thank you, Guffy Forrest. He said,
Give me a job, let me earn some cash. You Japanese aren't the bosses here, they'll stop hugging all the jobs.
is what he said.
What's wrong, Chinese bastard? Why don't you go fish through the trash in Chinatown or something? This place for the Japanese only, so get your Chinese asses out.
I don't know what zo means. Zo. Something.
How? What do you think you're doing, Chinese bastard? You looking for a fight with me? Get out, China. Stop trying to steal our jobs.
They're angry. A scuffle broke out in the crowd. Oh, and they said,
You wanna fight? Bring it on, bastards.
is what they said, basically. Each side grabbed the other's clothes, insulted them, spat out the accumulation of their pent-up emotions. The MPs at the entrance to the agency blew their whistles and came running. There were people who had apparently been punched and had blood dripping from their noses, as well as people curling up while getting hit with MP batons. There were people who ran away panicked, realizing that they couldn't make money in the clink, and people yelling incomprehensibly. Now that the number of laborers has swelled thanks to the inflow, their frustration had reached a peak.
I hear another meaningless fight broke out in front of the employment agency.
I love this outfit on her so fucking much. I've heard the same thing. It really is a shame. Everyone's frantic to feed their starving families. The number of people in front of the agency has increased, and a lot of people are losing their tempers, unable to get jobs.
I believe those laborers who lived in City 23 from the start will not find this at all amusing. Even though wages has risen, the influx of so many people from outside means they fail to get jobs, and they never see the benefit.
True. I understand how they feel too.
This is a transitional period. All types of reform undergo a period of disorder. What you have done will slowly seep in over time.
That's true. Time may be what we need. If laborers would gather for high wages, the other cities paying low wages wouldn't be able to find people anymore. Of course, employers would have to match Rose's raises to continue gathering laborers. Unwilling to abandon their vested interests, they would hesitate to imitate Rose for some time. However, they would surely give up eventually. When that happened, the wages for low-level laborers across Tokyo would reach a reasonable level.
Until the time comes, problems are to be expected. It is sad, but the fact must be accepted. However, what saddens me is a different issue entirely.
Rose already knew what that was. Oh, they're playing Caleb's theme even after he's dead. To the laborers who had been in City 23 from the start, laborers coming from other cities were enemies out to steal their jobs. However, among those people, trouble with Chinese men had been particularly strong lately. It was hardly unexpected. They were a different race with a different language and customs. Sorry, I got before. I mostly associate this theme with Caleb because it usually plays when he was speaking. To Japanese people, they stood out far more than Japanese men from other cities. Because of that, it was easy for those people to face the brunt of any disturbances. Conflicts with foreign laborers during recessions happen in countries all across the world.
If left alone, this could develop into a situation that harms Chinese-Japanese friendship. Though we live in the same city, we are different races with different cultures.
Yes. If we lose our sympathy for each other, it'll probably lead to negative results. Both Primavera and the Golden Dragon Society were organizations of the criminal underworld. If the situation continued to worsen, and relations between the Japanese and Chinese continued to grow more dangerous, then both organizations would face demands to take revenge against the other. Both Rose and Meiju were calm and composed and didn't want a feud. However, both Primavera and the Golden Dragon Society had established their organizations thanks to the support of the inhabitants of their own turfs. If Chinese and Japanese frustrations grew too big, both sides would have to respond to demands from supporters, which could result in conflict. Even though the leaders of both camps didn't want a feud, it was still possible for one to break out. Partly to make it possible to maintain their own positions, they needed to suppress any further trouble. In any event, we believe that the prime cause is the employment agency becoming overcrowded and lawless.
I agree. We have the same view. This is so refreshing compared to Caleb, seriously. And so I have a proposal for you all today.
Let's hear it.
Why don't our two groups take joint control of the maintenance of public order in this place? When there is trouble between Chinese and Japanese, let people from both sides cooperate. Listen to opinions from both parties and mediate. I believe this is a world peace-style solution in accordance with the ideals of the United Nations.
I was just about to say, that sounds like the United Nations in microcosm.
My apologies, but the employment agency is not on the Golden Dragon Society's turf. The brackish waters on the border of Chinatown would be one thing. However, we cannot simply accept a proposal which stations GDS forces at the agency, which is clearly within Primavera's turf.
Yeah, I think it was kind of sort of establishing him as kind of a future boss. Oh boy, this is sad, because
The Golden Dragon Society has no turf. If our countrymen are in trouble, we will save them no matter where they are. Be they in Tokyo or New York. It is that simple.
different definitions of turf between Japanese and Chinatown forces has been a smoldering issue ever since the days of Caleb. The Japanese tended to decide turf with a map. All problems within that turf were their own responsibility. And on the flip side, they showed no concern over any trouble occurring outside their turf. And so they had an irresponsible side, unwilling to get involved when one of the countrymen was harmed, as long as it happened outside their turf. For the Japanese, it was very natural to look at a fellow countryman being harmed in another country as partly their own fault for going somewhere so dangerous. However, Chinatown was different. To them, it was their fellow countrymen that ought to be protected, not some area on a map. So if a Chinese person was harmed, they would intervene no matter who claimed to own that turf. The Americans probably had similar feelings on the matter. The difference of basing your principles of turf or countrymen on, I should say, is not of. That's a typo. Your principles of turf. Wait, this sentence is really weird. You know what they mean. Right? I mean, I know what they mean. It's just, the sentence is really weird. Let's keep going. Arguing which was right would be a waste of time. The important point was that the two neighboring forces have different understandings on the matter.
We have no desire whatsoever to encroach on Primavera's turf. This is merely a proposition to save countrymen of both sides fairly, and concretely show Chinese-Japanese friendship.
However, during this past year, Chinatown expanded fiercely. They used their considerable financial muscle to buy up one shopping district after another that had been laid waste by Caleb. Richard had always viewed Chinatown's expansionary inclination as dangerous. And he claimed that they would eventually drive out the Japanese colony. So to him, this proposal that would lead to further expansion of the GDS's power wasn't acceptable at all. Pardon me, but we would like to take responsibility for handling this case.
In that case, do have a better proposal than mine.
We are currently making preparations to establish a labor union for our Japanese countrymen in City 23.
We would clearly designate the union office as a place for day laborers to find work, as opposed to an unregulated location such as the employment agency. We would also guarantee them this privilege by issuing union cards.
Oh wow, that's a smart idea.
Matters would be arranged so that members could receive jobs equally according to an ordered and planned system. Might I ask what the qualification requirements would be for members of this union?
First, membership will be limited to those with a certificate of residence in City 23. That makes sense.
And would that include the countrymen of Chinatown with certificates of residence in City 23? This union would exist as part of Primavera's structure, so naturally will be directed towards our Japanese countrymen.
Uh-oh. 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 Yeah, boy. Meiji snorted and his eyes glistened. Of course, as a person who represented the interests of Chinese laborers, he couldn't accept this.
It would mean Chinatown laborers would be unable to eat. Are there not many employers in Chinatown willing to offer those who can speak Chinese? I believe there are more well-off people than are among the Japanese who form the lowest class. You cannot get away with that excuse. After all, the double market rate wages you offer are just too overpowering. Not all Chinese employers are as well off as you. They cannot afford to pay double wages. If our people decide to go to the employment agency and search for higher wages, who are we to stop them? Oh boy. Besides, lately there have been Chinese businessmen suffering because they cannot find laborers, thanks to your one-sided wage increases. I regret having to say this, but some have begun to criticize this action as a Japanese economic invasion.
This was a matter that had also worried Meiji from the very start. If Primavera controlled City 23, there would be a radical change in wages and a massive wage panic. However, he had decided at the time to support Primavera, even if he had to postpone dealing with that matter, since Caleb was too dangerous and needed to be defeated. Meiji-san, that's a misunderstanding. We're only doing this to increase the income of our countrymen.
Besides which, before we took action, Chinese people would never come to search for work at the employment agency in the first place. That is not true. For a long time, there have been large numbers of Chinese people getting jobs from the employment agency. You simply couldn't tell who they were because they thought speaking Chinese would stir up trouble, and tactfully kept their mouths shut. At any rate, I cannot support a proposal that gives all the agency jobs to the Japanese.
Uh-oh, we got the Umineko clock going in the background. In order to gain the benefits of those special offers windows, our countrymen prepared a large sum of money, as they're squeezing their own blood out to do it. To us, we're simply collecting on our investment.
Your interpretation of the special offers window is too broad.
To Primavera, the argument went like this. The special offers windows belong to them. Therefore, they were free to distribute the jobs gained through it, to let whomever work for whatever wages Primavera pleased. However, Chinatown had a different view. The special offers window was nothing more than the right to steal project funds by passing on jobs. It did not contain the right to exclude their Chinese brethren from the end laborers. course, Meiju understood why Rose had wanted the special offers windows. But even so, he couldn't abandon his duty as a representative of his countrymen's interests. Oh boy.
Oh, let me say this. As a representative of Small Rock, Chinatown,
Let's hear it.
we would like you to abandon this plan for a City 23 Japanese labor union. If you were to carry out this plan, we would have to take proper defensive measures to protect the lifestyles of our countrymen.
And by defensive measures, you mean...
Any actions without restrictions, taken with the goal of protecting our countrymen.
So you would go as far as war?
It means we reserve all options that might be necessary to protect our countrymen. Which of those we choose is for you to decide. In other words, no matter what the result is, the responsibility lies at your door.
Meiju honed his words and slammed them against the other two. It was an unshakable responsibility to protect one's countrymen. A splendid threat to uphold that responsibility admirably. Considering the GDS's position, this was extremely natural. It was hardly an unpredictable reaction. Of course, Rose and Richard weren't so naive that they assumed he would agree to this proposal easily.
Please forgive me. Once again, we are both doing our jobs. Though we may exchange cold words, we are still friends. I wouldn't want you to misunderstand.
Of course. Given your position, it's only natural for you to say that. So we have another proposal to make, in the hopes of gaining your approval.
Let us hear it.
We propose the concurrent establishment of a City 23 Chinese labor union.
What do you mean? Both Japanese and Chinese people go to the employment agency. I'm fully aware that it would be unfair to just let one group have all the jobs. If a union to distribute jobs to the Japanese is to be established, then the same thing ought to be established for the Chinese as well. An interesting proposal. But as you know, we possess no special offers windows.
I mean, maybe Rose is saying you could buy some from her.
We have no negotiation power to the American occupying forces, much less to their higher levels. We wouldn't be able to obtain those special office windows for any amount of money.
The occupying forces in American Army-run districts didn't take a favorable view to the expansion of Chinatown's influence. It'd probably be difficult to set up a direct pipe between the Chinese and the Americans. That's why when Caleb showed interest in dealing for the special offers windows, Meiju had wanted to support him and get a piece of the action. However, Caleb had rejected Meiju's offer to supply funding. Later on, the group they had allied themselves with, Primavera, acquired enough financial clout to make assistance from Chinatown unnecessary. They had started buying up City 23's special offers windows without Meiju's support. First, I want to make it clear that we intend to use the special offers windows we hold to repay our countrymen.
Acknowledging that is no different than allowing for the exclusion of Chinese laborers. As long as we have no special office windows of our own, that is.
That's right. If Chinatown had their own special offers windows, we would have no objections to them using those to support Chinese laborers. I knew it. That's a very good solution, I think. That way they could still use the money, like to repay what the 50 million that Caleb had already paid to the Americans. We are prepared to sell your group some of the City 23 special offers windows we possess. Ooh, you are Kraus now.
Oh.
For once, Meiju was done silent. True enough, while the special offers windows couldn't be bought directly from the Americans, they might be obtainable through the Japanese. However, that would probably result in Primavera earning the displeasure of the occupying forces.
Well, I find it hard to imagine that Captain Butler would go along with that. To the captain, nothing is more important than having peace in the city's underworld.
Exactly. That's what I would say to him, like, to maintain peace, we need to sell some of these.
We have already obtained his consent in this matter, if it will serve to further this go. How much are you willing to let us have?
20% to start. We're thinking up to a maximum of 30, depending on negotiations. That's a good deal, I say. The long sought after special offers windows of City 23. Gaining those would grace Small Rock Chinatown with considerable stability. And I don't think Meiju is like Caleb. I don't think he's one to turn down a good deal in the interest of peace. Chinatown seemed to be dazzling on the outside, but unless it had a special offers window, that lack of foundation would always be a source of uneasiness. As far as anyone knew, political opposition between America and China might grow in the future, and harsher exclusionary measures might be taken up by both sides. If that happened, the presence or lack of a special offers window could greatly affect the fate of City 23's Chinatown. Of course, Primavera would charge them a considerable sum. However, they had money. This was a chance to buy something that normally couldn't be bought with money. That was Primavera's bargaining point in this plan to establish a union. For Meiju, it was a chance to succeed in a glorious achievement. Oh wow, we're seeing from his perspective now.
If I accept this proposal and we quickly establish labor unions for the Chinese and Japanese, what will happen? On the face of it, the trouble involving members of both nations fighting for jobs would go away. However, that was assuming wages were the same for both unions. Unless they had the same high wages as the Japanese side, resentment among Chinese laborers would probably explode. Raising the wages for laborers would make it impossible to use the greatest advantage of holding special office windows, the ability to snatch up some of their budgets. To the high-ranking elders of the GDS, that advantage was extremely a delicious side job. However, if they wanted to raise wages to the match the Japanese side, they would have to abandon that side job. Unfortunately, there was no way those greedy elders would agree to it. Of course, the elders were displeased with Primavera's plan to raise wages. Laborers had left City 22 in droves, and the shortage of workers there was becoming noticeable. Demands from the workplace for higher wages were growing fierce, and it was liable to cause trouble for their side jobs in City 22.
Oh goddammit, now it's switching back to third person. Ah, jeez. The GDS higher-ups had ordered him to somehow put a stop to Primavera's weight-raising plans, but...
Damn those senile little fools.
Meiju silently complained inside his head.
Do you realize how many of our Chinese brethren have suffered because of your greed?
Rose, a Japanese person, was born as a dragon, determined to save her countrymen.
We need a Chinese dragon to be born as well to save ours.
I wonder who that is.
The only one who could spell out that ideal and make it a reality is our young lord.
Special offers windows ought to be bought whatever the monetary cost. Oh,
We ought to deal with Primavera. We can let our brethren within City 23 receive the benefits of higher wages too. The problem is our brethren in City 22. What better than to use this chance to raise wages in City 22 as well? Haven't you cheated your way to enough money already?
that's one thing you gotta learn, Meiju. For greedy-ass rich people, there's no such thing as enough money. They treat it like fucking score in a video game. Money has a completely different meaning to them than it does to us. It's basically a dick measuring contest for them. Nothing to do with survival at all.
Isn't it time to return the benefits of the special office windows back to our countrymen? At any rate, only the greedy Council of Elders would be a bottleneck. However, I'm sure the young lord will be able to keep the council quiet.
Ooh, who is the young lord? Is it him? No, it can't be because he's talking about the young lord.
It's about time the elders learned. Learn that they can't take their money with them to the other side.
That is a very noble goal, Meiju. But let's see if you can actually get through to a rich person about that they can't take their money with them to the other side, because that seems like an impossible task.
Phew. Your proposal is quite a tempting one. However, it will be a difficult decision. I would like to be given some time.
My apologies, but we'd like to have the first premise of the deal to be to swift approval of the labor unions for our countrymen. Our countrymen want stable wages, and a stable way to get them as quickly as possible. Because of that, we have to resolve this issue as fast as we can. Our proposal to share the special offers windows we suffered so much to buy. Was dependent on receiving immediate approval for the establishment of unions.
You've gotten much better at negotiation, Rose-san. If you tried to force the establishment of unions, I would lose face. But instead, you would also dangle an alluring treat before me. The carrot and the stick, no doubt. Quite splendidly done.
Thank you. Oh, I doubt that, Luca. my birthday is next month. It's in like a month and a half, so I doubt that. Again, I'm just lucky. I just think I'm insanely lucky to have as many as I do. This is just something I do because I enjoy it. So, like, I'm just so happy that so many people already have just subscribed, honestly. Meiju-san, we're also frantically trying to save our countrymen. Even so, we realize there are people living in the city besides our countrymen. So instead of advancing matters on our own, we've come to you with a proposal like this. I would say agree to it and to hell with the council.
I understand, of course. Well, you could have ignored us and established a union on your own. You gave me room to negotiate. I must express my gratitude to you for allowing me to save face.
True enough, this doubled as a message that Primavera had no desire to ignore the GDS. Furthermore, Meiju was pro-Japanese. At this time, most Chinese people felt that since the Japanese were members of a defeated nation, there was no point in talking with them on an even footing. That made Meiju a very convenient person for Primavera to deal with. They didn't want to embarrass him. So they had thrown in a deal for the special offers windows as a remarkable precondition for their plan. Likewise, Meiju didn't want to embarrass them. They were a new power of uncertain strength. If a feud were ever to break out between them and the GDS, Meiju would bear all the responsibility. He had to preserve a loose relationship while still letting Rose save face. Alright, they managed to dodge a bullet here. But I bet somebody on the GDS side that doesn't want this, like one of those elders he was talking about, might be the bad guy for this arc. I think that might be our villain. Like, I don't think Meiju will. He just proved it. But I think that definitely somebody on the GDS side who doesn't want this might be our villain for this arc.
So we will each build unions and give jobs from our respective special office windows to our respective countrymen.
Together, we'll be able to hand out excellent wages to everyone. With your assistance, we can make that ideal come true in City 23.
On a personal level, I greatly sympathize with your ideals. However, without time, there will be no way to arrange matters on my end. Can't you give me some time, so I can make adjustments that will lead to a satisfying conclusion for us both? Of course. It would be intolerable for you if I use this as an excuse to waste time.
That's right. This is a now or never emergency in City 23.
And so, I would like to have this be a gentleman's agreement based on the personal trust you and I share. To produce the best possible result, I would like you to trust me and allow me a bare minimum of time. How much time are we speaking of? I cannot give you a concrete answer, but I am fully aware that you have no time either. Can't you compromise on this point, on the basis of the trust between fellow members of City 23?
Understood.
Rose, it would be better to set a limit.
Let's put our trust in Meiju-san. I have a feeling that I think Meiju-san might be assassinated and someone else more villainous might be put in his place. But he's a real badass, so maybe not. Who knows? I believe the trust and coexistence are what will bring peace to this city.
You have my thanks, Madam Rose. I promise that we will not break your trust.
Thank you, Meiju-san.
I believe you could have applied more pressure than that.
They're people who we have to coexist with. There's no need to pick a fight.
Do you realize how much Chinatown has expanded this past year? To protect the livelihoods of our countrymen, we ought not to let them expand any further.
What's the worst case scenario you're imagining, Richard-kun?
All of Tokyo being taken care over by Chinatowns. The solidarity is formidable. The Japanese, whose solidarity isn't nearly as strong, will be forced out of Tokyo.
So you're saying that our resilience is no match for theirs?
We are a people being driven out. Tenacity and cunning. In all ways that matter, the Japanese have no advantages over the Chinese. Do you know why the Sea of Japan is called by that name? It's because without that sea, this place would have been part of China from the start. A country known as Japan would never have been born.
I mean, Japan started because people sent by the first Chinese emperor were looking for the a crazy elixir of immortality, and they knew if they came back without it, we would have totally been fucking executed. So they just stayed. Jeez. Oh, Qin Shi Huang and his freaking cartoon villainy. Like, seriously. The first emperor of China. Like, the story of that. Him and, like, and Zhao Gao and, like, everyone concerned with that. That is a freaking epic waiting to be made into, like, some big budget thing that just... I know in China they've done it several times, but seriously, an incredible story about the first emperor of China, who was basically a supervillain. Like, there have been so many, I've seen a lot. There was one, Qin's Moon that I've seen, which is basically an anime they made about it, but it was 3D. Seriously, if you ever having to look up what happened in the first empire of China, the first dynasty, I should say. Incredible story. You wouldn't believe it's actual history, because it sounds like a fucking TV show. Like, especially with everything happening within the span of one generation.
We're an immature people cut off from the weeding... Oh, I was almost doing Meiju because his voice was so long. We're an immature people cut off from the weeding out of the mainland by Sea of Japan, and unbaptized by progress. In a struggle for existence, we cannot defeat them. We will be weeded out from Japan. Surely you have seen the warning signs.
Truth be told, in Tokyo of 1948, half of the 22 independent cities, excluding City 1, were under Chinese military control. Nearly all of those had become Chinatowns. So half of Tokyo had already become Chinatown. Also, City 23 wasn't the only American-controlled city that had Chinatown advancing on it. There were many people besides Richard who felt that all of Tokyo was becoming a Chinatown.
In the end, we cannot coexist with them.
Have you always been a person who thought like that, Richard Kuhn? Wasn't it your motto that beliefs and nationality were meaningless to business?
That's nothing but the empty talk of money worshippers. I may have been like that when I was a mere moneylender, but not anymore. Yuji won't be able to ignore this danger if he is to protect Japan from the children of the future. For the children of the future.
In the past, when he was a businessman and a moneylender, he hadn't cared at all about the nationality of those he had dealt with. However, since becoming the consigliere of an organization for mutual cooperation between countrymen, his way of thinking was apparently beginning to change.
I don't want you to misunderstand. I agree with your position that the Chinese are neighbors whom we ought to coexist with.
I understand that your position is one that keeps our future in mind. However, if it's at all possible, I would choose to coexist with them. If the Japanese are an immature people, and there ought to be a lot of us to learn living alongside people as resilient as they are. A lot for us to learn, yeah. I think we should place more trust in our children of the future.
An optimistic view. Would you throw a rabbit into a lion's cage and expect it to learn resilience?
I want to believe that our children of the future will live resiliently and adapt to a new era. They'll learn several languages, such as English and Chinese, accept the differences in culture and common sense held by other countries, and gain the ability to adapt. They'll gain the vitality to boldly set out across the many vast countries of Asia, not just a small Japanese island chain. And all the while, they won't lose their identity as Japanese people. They'll protect the culture they've inherited. If that isn't possible, then we may be destroyed as a people. However, if that's the case, I want them to hold on to one thing: the willingness to care for other people. I want that. I want only that to be our people's pride, regardless of how immature we may be.
Well, it certainly is true that a peace based on friendship is the cheapest to maintain.
I'm sure Meiju-san will understand. I just hope Meiju-san isn't replaced. I'm sure we'll be able to build a utopia in City 23. Rose sighed and closed her eyes. For the sake of her ideals, she had to raise her spirits and make a decision she would rather avoid facing. Rose slept for a while, and Richard gazed at the city through the car window with a distant look.
And I will search for a new car that will help us in our negotiations. For the future of our children as well. I won't let anyone get in the way of the future you envision. Not even Meiju-san.
Chapter 1, Utopia 1948 End. Damn. I kind of wish I'd gotten closer to that last time. It's way too fucking early to finish the stream. Alright, let's try to get to another a stopping point in the next chapter. At night it was a pub, but during the day it was a restaurant that seemed to be aimed at younger people, serving pizza and pasta. Wow, sounds delicious. Apparently they were having a meeting. Charles ordered pizza and drinks as though it was something he did all the time. With enough for 4 people set up on a round table, it looked like a little party. Today we were having dinner a bit early. While dogs have dreams of becoming wolves, Chapter 2.
were members of Wilson's crew with the Wild Dogs.
Wild dogs?
That's Aniki Wayne's team.
Yes, I knew they would call him Aniki.
A band of brats who knew everything about this city.
They were the kids that he was talking to in the first part with Leo, weren't they? I bet they were. The Wild Dogs are basically a crew. Oh, well, that means a sub-organization of the Primavera family. The Primavera family was a large organization that consisted of several sub-organizations. Those sub-organizations were called crews, yo. The bosses of the crews were called capos, and they moved according to the instructions given by the Grand Boss Cyrus, boss of bosses. And with assistance of the Grand Boss and the Consigliere, Madame Rose reigned at the peak of the organization. Though the crews were called sub-organizations, they were made of influential powers who had controlled sections of the city before the Caleb era. For example, the Rich Bamboo, controlled by James Tomitake, ran several gambling spots and wielded considerable monetary power. James had become Consigliere Richard's right-hand man and supported Primavera's financial affairs. There was also a battalion controlled by Maurice Mononobe, which contained the elites from the front lines that had been feared in Caleb's day. They now formed the core of Primavera's fighting force. Interesting that he came to her side. Maurice was the head bodyguard in charge of protecting the Grand Boss Cyrus, and was always keeping a close lookout. There were also several other forces that could easily have formed a family in the past, all of whom have become crews supporting Primavera. At the very end of the list of powerful crews, lay the Wild Dogs, controlled by Wayne. So that's how Primavera is structured.
All of us wild dogs were raised in back alleys.
To us alley rats, there's no one we'd rather be like than Aniki Wayne. Everyone wants to be famous and get wealth and reputation just like Aniki Wayne.
Well, we're also known as Puny Crew working under Primavera. We may be lacking when it comes to wealth and guns. However, there are weapons that can only those of us who grew up in alleys possess. Because we know all the alleys of the city, back and front, our noses can sometimes pick out things no one else can. You might call us an intelligence corps, familiar with all the city secrets.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
It means those adults have got to tip their hats to our animal instincts.
Well, we're basically just a group of brats. A small fry of Primavera small fry.
However, even Wayne-san was a greenhorn once. From there, he built up a legend, eventually managed to become Madame Rose's exclusive guard. He may be the youngest capo, but he's one of the 7 legendary people who can chat casually with the Grand Boss. That's how far he climbed. I'm sure we'll make a name for ourselves as wild dogs. And there will be legends like Aniki Wayne. We're the proud wolves of the wild dogs. Even a wild dog can eventually become a wolf if it sharpens its fangs.
No one can beat us when it comes to having big hearts and the drive to become great. Incredible. You all look so inspirational right now. I'm sure you will achieve something fantastic. I guarantee it. I'm sure you'll accomplish something that the other wild dogs could never do.
Indeed. We will surely create legends. It's kind of embarrassing you praise us so much.
Well, one step at a time, right? What you gonna do? three of them grinned embarrassedly. As they did, the store was growing more and more lively. Everyone there was young and seemed to know these three. They're probably all members of the Wild Dogs. This store must be their gathering spot. However, we were the only ones dressed roughly. The others were all in suits. I mean, aren't they in suits kind of too?
You three always show up early, don't you? At least you have that going for you. Hey there, Charlesy. See you looking as short as ever.
Shut up. What's height got to do with it?
I mean, he looks just as tall as them in the sprite.
Better stop. Get this guy, man. You'll find your wallet suddenly missing. Still on top of your game with that? Didn't Wayne-san forbid you from doing it? Better keep it under control.
Now you've done it. Talk smack about me. You better keep it close on your wallet for the rest of your life.
Charles tossed a wallet onto the counter. Damn, he's good. He's clearly a thief for all here. Apparently it belonged to the man who had joked about his height. They looked shocked, as though someone had just shown them a magic trick, and they burst out laughing, acknowledging the hit. Huh? What just happened? Is that a magic trick? Back in our early days, Charles was a master pickpocket. He always earned the most out of us all.
He was a bit of a hero back then, but now Wayne-san's forbidden him from pickpocketing. And he leveled it to 100 too. Pity.
No helping it. One might even say it can't be helped. I'm getting enough money to eat from Aniki Wayne. Rules say people with enough money to eat can't pickpocket.
Take pickpocketing it away and Charles is just a brat.
Hey there, Oliver. A long time no see, Nina. I hear they made you quit the club again.
Shut up, that's none of your business.
Nina isn't suited to be lady of the evening. She always gets in fights with the customers.
If you think any woman can make men happy just like that, you're sadly mistaken. I'm just not suited for it, that's all.
Still, she's awesome with a pachinko.
Pachinko?
It's a slingshot. That thing made of a Y-shaped stick with elastic on it that shoots balls.
Really? I thought pachinko was a gambling machine.
That takes me back.
Oh, sorry, misclicked. Hold on just a second.
Nina really was a pachinko genius. She could get anything she wanted, no matter how far away it was. It's really amazing.
So stupid. Bragging about something like that won't earn you any food. It would have been so much better if I could pickpocket like Charles.
That isn't any good to me now. I'm gonna reach Oliver's height and make a legend fighting.
Really? Oliver is a fighter.
Yeah, Charles here had major issues being a bodyguard, wouldn't he?
Shut up and be quiet. We're busy polishing our skills.
I see you're as much of a bookworm as ever. You realize studying isn't what you need, don't you? Aniki Wayne's always disgusted with the way you jump the gun.
I want to become a wolf as fast as possible.
It's only people at Aniki Wayne's level that get to be called themselves lone wolves. We're just dogs. Wild dogs. Just what are you thinking moving without your pack?
That's right. At first, Charles is the thief, Oliver's a warrior, and Nina the ranger. I guess Sal is a cleric. It's the same for Oliver. He's got a few issues. Her outfit looks like a cleric's outfit too, kinda.
You know, he's uncooperative, impatient, to achieve great things, and stubborn.
He may not look it, but he used to stand at the head of the pack. However, Oliver's desire to improve was too strong. Impatient to achieve greatness, he started trying to leave his friends in the dust, make a splash in the world before any of them. His comrades criticized him harshly, saying he was uncooperative, didn't listen, was trying to hog every accomplishment for himself. In the end, Wayne had scolded him harshly for it, and had grown deeply depressed.
He's always been sort of selfish egomaniac.
He's had no friends ever since the early days.
Well, he did get what he asked for.
But you are all friends, aren't you?
We're just a bunch of failures sticking together.
Well, I think they're very friendly. All their fellow wild dogs who came into the store one by one were wearing nice suits. I would have never guessed Oliver was a fighting type, based on his design and what he's constantly doing. From what I could overhear from their conversations, they were all bodyguards or drivers or doing some sort of job. Come to think of it, I've never seen Oliver, Charles, or Nina doing a job until today. So, do you all of you have jobs?
Oh. We're wild dogs. Lone wolves are always ready for jobs that come their way.
Well, we're pretty clumsy. We keep messing up any job we're given.
Damn it! Even we want to be big.
That looks lovely.
You better eat your spinach and drink your milk. Eating little fish is supposed to work too.
Don't you mock me!
Anina, why don't you stop being embarrassed and change the way you talk? That's right. You look cute after all. If you could just fix that dialect. That's enough out of you! Ain't nobody changing the Jessica voice. Why does every character who has a Jessica voice always get picked on for their accent? Don't you understand the words coming out of my mouth? Jeez Louise. Language is the pride of a poison's hometown, so mind your own beeswax!
Well, just you wait. We'll make bigger and bigger names for ourselves and become Aniki Wayne's right-armed men. Runa has it that Wayne sounds forming an elite guard for Madame Rose. The day we get chosen for that might be the day we become legends. We're pretty good at shooting and fighting.
Is there gonna be like a Mafia Olympics or some shit that they're gonna have to go through to prove they're the best ones? Cause that would be fucking hilarious.
Hey, I wonder if he'll pick me.
I wouldn't lose in a contest of shooting or fighting.
Doesn't Wayne's son keep telling you to show some restraint? Why don't you just keep on studying forever instead of getting in the way? Try and remember just a little bit of how much trouble you cause your comrades by jumping the gun. And anyway, you guys have a totally different talent, don't you?
Yeah, you just make a living off that. I wonder what that is.
May as well have a few wild dogs who can do tricks.
Clearly, the three of them were being treated like the dunces of the wild dogs crew. The store was filled with people bragging about their suits and stories from their jobs. Even though the three of them had been so bright and cheery a second ago, once everyone showed up, they all shrank up. Unable to blend in with the happy circle of people, the three dropouts quietly rose from their seats. Then, as though trying to hide, they moved to some lonely seats in the back near the bathroom. They sure say mean things to their comrades, don't they?
Oh, they're right about all of it. We are dropouts after all. We keep messing up bad enough to discuss them. Nothing we say can change that. What we need is a fourth party member. Maybe one day we can have adventures so great that they'll name them after us. I know, you will be the heart of our group. We'll call our adventures The Legend of Zell. What do you think? Do you think people would buy that?
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, we gotta find the right link to get our story correct. We gotta link it to our world somehow. To reality. Nobody would ever buy that. We're always the ones who get told to not do anything that'll make things worse. In the end, back alleys are a perfect fit for us. We can't even become bodyguards, much less legends.
So, when waits on us that directly they'll go after you. We were all really happy! It felt like Wayne-san hadn't forgotten about us yet after all.
If anything, we don't want you to be inconvenienced in any way. Once we've looked after you until your memory returns, we'll finally be able to clear our bad names a bit.
I sort of don't like letting this slide. I want to smack the cheeks of those people over there who are clearly looking this way and giggling. Is she gonna show that she has some secret power here? The moment my anger becomes unbearable, the store was suddenly filled with motion. Everyone rose from their seats and the clamor suddenly died down.
Wayne-san's here. Oh god, Aniki!
Ah! Every time I see him, he's got such a dignified look. Oh, Wayne!
Wish we could be a man that big someday.
Now that he was appearing as a boss, Wayne-san had a whole different feel to him than the last time we met. Yeah, he definitely does look like a Kingdom Hearts character, I'd say. He looks like he was designed by Tetsuya Nomura in this outfit, for sure. I think it's the collar and the scarf. And, like, the way that, I don't know, the combination of that just, yeah. I don't know much about the criminal underworld, but this is probably the sense of formidability it takes to be a boss. By the time he stood behind the counter, the once noisy store had gone completely silent.
Welcome, everyone. Is there any nose? Here, Ryan's wife scratched up his face and kicked him out of the house. Again. We can't let someone with a face like that be seen at the club. Don't forget that being a bodyguard is also a service industry.
A man covered with wounds scratched his head, and everyone guffawed.
Listen up. Right now, Primavera is in the middle of vital negotiations with Chinatown. Don't anybody do anything to fuck that up. Especially you three.
What's he looking at us for?
Madam Rose is proposing an important plan for City 23's sake.
I wonder what that is. Madam Rose is always worrying about the employment agency. A lot of outsiders came, and now the people of the city can't get jobs. And that resentment might be a part of the reason there have been so many fights with the Chinese people lately.
There have even been cases of outsider Japanese men stirring up trouble on their own. It'd be a real nuisance if something like that started up a conflict between us and the GDAs.
We're at a moment when we can't afford to stir up any trouble within Chinatown. Understand? It'd be a pain if the poor fight each other and the Chinese person gets involved and injured. Keep an eye out to make sure no Chinese people get caught up in any fights. Check the entertainment areas, post stations, and back alleys near Chinatown. Any place where fools might make a scene. Even if both parties in the fight bear responsibility, if someone in their side is injured, that'll be another card in their hand. But it stopped doing anything that might hold Madam Rose back. Yes, boss. Lee Major was probably thinking the same thing. If a fight breaks out, the Golden Dragon Society might come in and attempt to mediate. We might bump into them when they do. Do not, under any circumstances, store up trouble with the GDS. Got that? Yes, boss.
After all the wild dogs finished giving their energetic answer, Wayne turned his back to them and sat at a dimly lit counter in the back. It was apparently the boss's favorite seat. Now I see why only that seat was empty in this packed store. As though the formal matters had ended, the store grew noisy again. Dazzling women surrounded Wayne. Unsurprisingly, the boss must be popular. Women in clothes that left them nearly exposed surrounded him seductively. However, the apparently stoic Wayne-san seemed to show no interest in them. Oh, he's only got eyes for Rose. Oh, God.
What do we do? We heard what Wayne-san had to say. Let's go. I can't stand drunks.
Yeah, they don't let underage kids like us drink. Yeah. Zell, shall we go? Let's go home. These people are really sad. Even though everyone's gathered and about to eat, they showed up early and finished eating first, so they can't blend in with the others. They were completely incapable of blending in with the happy clamor about them. It felt uncomfortable, even though the wild dogs were supposed to be in a place for them to belong. The three of them made to leave the store. Zell followed them. At that moment, Wayne just happened to turn around and notice Zell.
Rapunzel?
Good day to you, Wayne-san. The moment he realized it was Zell, Wayne's eyes narrowed.
Oliver, why did you bring her through a dangerous place like this? Madam Rose is the one who asked that she be taken care of. Have you forgotten that? It was Charles's fault. Hey!
I decided on my own to follow them here. I wanted to say hello to you, Vin-san.
Is that so? Forgive me for shouting all of a sudden. Have you had any trouble getting settled in? Have they been doing a good job of looking after you?
Très bien. They have. Thanks to them, I've been feeling great. They've done a lot to make it easy for me. Vin-san, if you wouldn't mind doing it, I'd like it if you congratulate them for what they've done for me. When Wayne stared at them, the three all went rigid with forced smiles.
Seems you've done well. Please continue to look after her.
Of course, Aniki Wayne.
Looking after a person's no sweat, even for us.
Oh. Wait, son. How about the employment agency matter? Could we also... No. Oliver.
Wayne looked at him silently and threateningly. His hangers-on giggled.
I believe you've already been given the job of looking after her. That's right. I've trusted you. No, I still trust you. I've never once thought you were useless.
Oh, I have a feeling I'm gonna really like this arc. Like, I think Ryukishi did a really good job letting us know these four kids here. And letting them kind of sort of take over as the protagonists of this arc. Doing their own thing while Rose and the old group kind of do their major stuff in the background. I think that's really cool. I love the setup of this chapter. And Zell is going to clearly be important to the Golden Dragon Society in some way.
However, now is the time for you to think carefully about what's really important for you. What you can do, along with your comrades. Think long and carefully. Yes, sir. I'm counting on you regarding Rapunzel. I won't let you slide if she's inconvenienced. Yes, boss.
Wayne turned his back on them. Oliver bowed to that back and turned around himself.
Don't go bothering Wayne's son anymore, you hear? After all, don't you have another skill that's just perfect for you earning your food money?
I wonder what that skill is. Yeah, that's right. I think you're much more suited to that than being bodyguards. Shut up! We got no instruments we waste on you. Oh my god. Are they a band? That is amazing. Oh my god, if they're a band and Zell like completes their set in some way, if she's like a singer. Oh my god, that would be fucking amazing if they were a band. Oh my god, what if Nina dressed in the frickin' Marisaki Salming outfit that Jessica did? Well, that would be fucking incredible. Shut up. We got no instruments we waste on you!
Let's go, Oliver. Once we successfully finish the job Wayne-san entrusted us with, I'm sure our stock will rise. Someday.
Yes, you're right.
Three left the restaurant and returned to the second floor of the musical instrument store. Of course, because it's a musical instrument store. They probably know how... They're probably a band. That's amazing. Imagine if... I just like to imagine if Zell, like... If this really is a fucking Disney Channel sitcom, if true. Oh my god. This episode of The strange life of Zell was a surprising one. Oh my god. So, can you tell me, is this like the start of a new scene right here? Or does this end pretty soon after this conversation? I would just like to know if this scene is gonna wrap up quickly or if this is a better stopping point right here. You think this is a mini scene? Okay, thanks, Apparition. And then I'll just finish it. Oliver, what on earth happened? The three plopped themselves down on sofas and just lay there. Instead of answering Zell's question, Oliver just stared at the ceiling. For a while, no one answered, and eventually Nina spoke from her rocking chair. With the failure of a lady of the evening and a pickpocket not allowed to pickpocket, well, it goes without saying that we're talentless and have nothing going for us. But Oliver is different. He used to be serious, a passionate studier. A man completely different from the two of us who couldn't do nothing. So what that made everyone scorn him so much. To be perfectly honest, I was really mad. Why should you have to be mocked like that when your fellow wild dogs? Oliver tried too hard. He admired Wayne's son more than any of the rest of us. He wanted to be acknowledged by Wayne's son before anyone else. So that backfired on him. He was too impatient to earn credit for something. Well, he definitely tried too hard.
I was simply a rat, unable to become a wild dog, much less a wolf.
As his eyes stared at the ceiling, the days of his past mistakes flashed by them. Oh my god!
Ha! I get my own fight scenes!
Ah! Generic mook attack! Surely I could beat a fucking kid!
That's what you think. I learned Wayne's fighting style. You don't stand a chance.
Surely if enough of us generic mooks attack you, we'll win.
Not a chance. Tally-ho!
Damn it. So it's always, I always miss it because I click the space in between the cards.
KO, motherfuckers.
Oh my god, okay, this is a good place to stop here, right? I'm pretty sure I'll stop here for today. Okay. We'll start with Oliver's flashback on what exactly happened to get him in bad graces with all of Primavera and Wayne's gang. I gotta say, I love the setup for this chapter. I really do. Like, you know, just the fact that, you know, most of the people, the other people have kind of completed their character arcs. Like, we're seeing them be bosses, and the story's focus has shifted to this new group of kids, while still not forgetting about the old gang. And I really do like it. I really do like it. Seriously. I think this is getting off to an even better start than the last time, because I remember that the first year was pretty directionless for a very long time until Alfred started, like, you know, shaking things up, and then Caleb, it got a really definitive arc. Okay, you guys, until next time, I will say. Which is, oh, by the way, until next time, which is, today is Thursday, so Sunday for Rose Gun Days, and tomorrow for some more Remember 11. I will say, so long, farewell, have we saying good night. All the sweetest of hearts. See ya.